Welcome to Chit Chat, the encouraging one another podcast, where it's always about sharing uplifting, encouraging stories. I'm your host, Jody Sheffield, and where we have real conversations with people from all around the world, sharing their stories, what they've been through, what they've gone through. My mission for this podcast is to uplift and inspire and to remind people that their stories matter. Everyone has a story, and in a world filled with noise and negativity, this place is for honesty and to share hope and human connection with real stories. We shine a light on good and celebrate resilience and encourage one another to keep going. This world needs more encouragement, more kindness, more real stories that remind people that they are not alone. So, if you have a story you'd love to share, something you've been through and gone through, I'd love to have you on. Reach out to me and let's get you on Chit Chat. I hope in this episode and every episode you get something out of it. I just want to encourage somebody out there. We have great people sharing their stories and great music as well. You're watching Chit Chat, the encouraging one another podcast. Well, hello. Hey, I'm Jody. This is Chit Chat, the encouraging one another podcast. So glad you're back for another fun, encouraging, and inspiring show. You know, this podcast is where the music lifts your spirits, right? And the stories are inspiring, and the encouragement, well, it's spreading like a fresh apple pie. When you pull it out of the oven, the smells, the cinnamon, the apples, This is Chit Chat, where it's always about encouraging others. We got a great show lined up for you today, some great music, a really fun, encouraging interview. I'm going to do a little something different today. I'm going to share the songs we have. I'll be on the show today, and you'll be hearing them throughout the show. Our first song you'll hear is by Mr. Michael Coleman. His hit song, Another Saturday. This song is a heartfelt, honest, and beautifully crafted way to start the day. And next up, we are turning into our energy rockin' duet with MEGHANNE Story and Raymond Hayden, a powerful duet from the Pacific Northwest. Their song we're playing is To Be Human. They deliver a passion of harmony and a message that hits home. And our third song, we're stepping into the soulful blues-inspired world of CEE CEE James, a powerhouse vocalist who pours every ounce of emotion into her music. And our last song of the show, we're going to be about Chelsea Ray, and her song is Raking Up to Makeup. It's catchy, emotional, and it sparks some good listening. It really, really does. And today, my interview is the founder of an incredible organization that I got to be a part of, 1 Degree of Separation. Please Google it. It's a great organization. The founder, Brad Bonar Jr., Brad and his team use comedy and compassion and connection to change lives. And I cannot wait for you to hear his story. So be sure you settle in, kick back and relax for a fun, encouraging, and uplifting show. It's going to be fun. It really, really is. This is Chit Chat, the encouraging one another podcast. Welcome to the show. Our first spotlight artist of today's show, I said, is Michael Coleman. He's a singer-songwriter with a gift of turning everyday moments into something meaningful. His songs feel like conversations, warm, reflective, and full of soul. He writes from real-life emotions and a deep appreciation for the simple rhythms that shape our day. I'm playing his song, Another Saturday. It's a thoughtful, heartfelt, and relatable kind of song that invites you to slow down, breathe, and appreciate the quiet moments that often mean the most. I mean, how many of us slow down and truly appreciate the quiet moments? I want to challenge you. If you don't, challenge you to find that few minutes just to slow down into the day. It really, really helps. This song helps remind us that even in ordinary days can hope with purpose and comfort and hope. A special thanks to the MTS Management Group for allowing me to play his music as well as feature other artists as well here on the podcast. And I hope you enjoy this song as much as I do. This is Mr. Michael Coleman, Another Saturday.
She wakes up in a fuzzy haze, wondering again how she got home. Though a stranger lays beside her, she's still all alone. Tells him, wake up honey, it's time for you to leave. Thank you for the good time, you're not the something that I need. It's another Saturday in this thing she calls her life. Right now she's not anybody's girl, though she used to be someone's wife. Don't know what's up ahead, in store or around the bend. Some things are just too difficult for a wounded girl to understand. Stepping out of the shower, regrets washed down the drain. Looking in the mirror, faded memories all that remain. Staring into the closet, looking for something cute that still fits. Thinking, will she ever finally win? Starting the cycle all over again. It's another Saturday in this thing she calls her life. Right now she's not anybody's girl, though she used to be someone's wife. Don't know what's up ahead, in store around the bend. Some things are just too difficult for a wounded girl to understand. Oh, when you don't know what comes next, you can't protect your heart from battle scars. It's another Saturday in this thing she calls her life. Right now she's not anybody's girl, though she used to be someone's wife. Don't know what's up ahead, in store or around the bend. Some things are just too difficult for a wounded girl to understand.
Alright friends, let's talk donuts, because sometimes encouragement comes in the shape of a circle. Yes, Lone Star Donuts, with locations in Silverdale and in Port Orchard, Washington, are serving up nearly 50 incredible flavors, all made fresh every single day. Whether you're a Glaze fan or a maple bar loyalist, bacon up top, of course, or someone who's just trying something new every visit, Lone Star Donuts has a donut with your name on it. Come on by, grab a box for the office, surprise the family, or just treat yourself. You do deserve it. Fresh, local, delicious. That's Lone Star Donuts. You can call them in Silverdale at 360-204-5021 and place your order, or in Port Orchard 360-443-2600. Also check out their website, LoneStarDonutsWA.com. Great tasting, made fresh donuts. That's Lone Star Donuts. When you're ready to unwind, really unwind after a long week, head over to a Wine About It in Port Orchard. It's the perfect spot to get a glass of wine, to enjoy lunch or dinner or a charcuterie board. Just breathe in the moment. Whether you're meeting friends, planning a date, or looking for a fun place to relax after a long week, we've had all those, haven't we? Wine About It has a warm, welcoming vibe with fun events happening every week. Great wine, great food, great company. What more do you need? head over to their Facebook page. You'll see the many events they have, trivia and mahjong and all bunko, all kinds of cool stuff. Give her a call. Barbara, she's awesome. 360-443-2473, and go check out Wine About It in Port Orchard and unwind. I'm very excited about today's guest, and he is the founder of 1 Degree of Separation. 1 Degree of Separation is a comedy-based suicide program that uses laughter to lower defenses, to open doors for honest conversations about depression, mental health, suicide, and so much more. It's a form of mental health first aid. It really, really is. Teaching people how to have a supportive conversation with someone who perhaps is going through some very difficult chapters in their lives and different seasons in their lives. Today's conversation is one that matters deeply. We're talking about something that impacts families, friends, communities, veterans, and sadly too often not spoken much except behind closed doors when we're very vulnerable. My guest, Brad Bonar Jr., has found a powerful and compassionate way to bring hope and honesty and healthy healing into a topic that's people have a hard time dealing with and talking with. His ministry is about sharing lives, sharing stories. My goal in today's interview, and almost every episode, is to encourage somebody. So if this conversation encourages you, that to me is all that matters. My goal today is to approach this topic with care, to learn from Brad's journey, to offer encouragement to anyone out there listening. If you battled or going through anxiety, depression, loss, as well as many mental health possibilities, I pray this conversation can help you and encourage you and inspire you. Maybe someone you know and gain the assistance that they need. 1 Degree of Separation has trained audiences from middle school to the FBI. I kid you not. And now partnering with the DoD, the Department of Defense, with the Navy and Marines, have done over 300 shows across the globe, even on aircraft carriers. And the way I got connected with them was back in January. I actually attended a conference, a training for work. And I'm like, had the concept of comedians and suicide training. What? I'm so confused. And when I went in with a negative mentality and I walked out with my eyes watering because the powerful stories these comedians tell when they get up on stage on a one-on-one basis, they're all 4 up there on stage sharing their testimony. It was so powerful. I reached out as I'm walking out to my car to get them on the show to hear more about this amazing ministry. And so, without further ado, here is Brad Bonar Jr., the founder of 1 Degree of Separation. Hello, Brad. Welcome to Chit Chat, the encouraging one, another podcast. So great to have you on today and hearing about the amazing things you're doing with 1 Degree of Separation. How are you today?
I'm doing awesome. Always good and bad going on, I think, in everybody's life. So
I'm excited to have you on today. I really am. I'll share a little bit this in a little bit, but we're doing your trainings, and just I love what you guys are doing. Let's start from the beginning. Let's share a little about yourself a little bit and where you're from.
I was born in Casper, Wyoming. We moved to California when I was 3 years old because my dad didn't want me to have to marry a cousin. So I grew up in California for the most part. I've been doing comedy for a career for over 30 years now. It's been my livelihood. So not a lot of comics can make a living doing it without being super famous, but I've kind of fit in that road, doing a lot of corporate events and gigs. And grew up in Sacramento mostly. Moved to Sacramento when I was 7. I lived in Utah for about 8 years, and then I repented, moved back to California. Got out of that. The last 7.5 years, this 1 Degree of Separation has kind of become my whole purpose. So it didn't start off being my whole purpose. It ended up being something I wanted to do. And about 3.5 years ago, we just went all in. Let's do this. Let's make this our full-time thing. I had a friend of mine. I was telling her about all the things. My wife and I, we owned a kickboxing fitness gym, and we had a gym. I had my regular comedy career, and we had our 1 degree of separation stuff we were doing. And my friend, he goes, "You need to read The Art of War." He goes, "You
Mm.
need to read about when they burn their ships and why." He goes, "You got a lot of ships right now." And the concept was they would pull into shore and they would turn around, light their ships on fire, burn them down in
Mhm.
the water. Now there's
Mhm.
no going back. You're committed. And so within, we just really had this moment of like, all right, God, I give up. I give up on me, what I want to do. We're all in. We had an opportunity to close our gym, and we closed our gym up on a Saturday. Booked our first keynote Monday morning. So it's literally door closed, door open, and it's been so much God stuff like that with
The
doors
great
and
song,
windows
buddy.
open. What's that?
The great song for King and Country. Sorry to cut you off.
Yeah.
Burn the ships. Great analogy. Great story. Great song. And that you lived that. That's
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah. If August 3rd will be 3 years we've been homeless, but we're bougie homeless. So we had to create a new category of homeless, but we all in, we'd be home for 4 days a month. We're paying 2,000 a month rent. So we're like, if we're going to do this, let's do it. We have a motor home. We haven't driven in over 2 years. It's our clothing exchange center. And it's on my family has property outside of Sacramento. So we have an RV site where the motorhome stays. And matter of fact, we have racks and cubbies where the front seats are, because we don't drive it. If we drive, we have an adventure van that we take. And so we'll come, swap our clothes, do some laundry, pack a new bag, and then we're out on the road again. And it's just been an amazing, just mind-blowing journey of the places we've been able to go and the people we've been able to perform for. It's such a wide variety from, we have a contract with the Navy. We've done about almost 200 shows just for the Navy, the Marine Corps. We've done 3 symposiums for the Marine Corps for behavioral health out of Quantico. We've done 3 symposiums, and the last one, they said, "We've submitted for funding. We want you to be our suicide prevention training for our Marines."
Wow.
And and then a couple of weeks ago, we met with the Catholic Church. They lost their bishop to suicide a year ago,
Mm.
and they don't have money, so we're going to donate a show and have a big Sacramento Valley community event at this church that lost one of lost their leader to suicide.
Mhm.
And so there's no, we do 6th graders, we do middle schools, we did a Catholic girls school in Sacramento. The day after we did the show at the Catholic girls school, the dean sent me a message, said we had a young girl break down to her friends after your presentation and said, "That's me. All the things they talk about, that's the stuff that goes through my mind." That night, she told her parents, "We had an assembly today, and all the things they talked about are the things that I feel and what goes through my mind, and the same feelings and emotions and things that I think about." And they said she's in a hospital today, and she's getting help, and she's getting therapy. And she said, "You guys made her finally feel safe to talk about it."
Wow.
So from high school to, we literally have had Marines at the end of our show walk up and go, "That's me. I think I need help," and get escorted to Fleet and Family Services and escorted out of the building to a facility. So
Mhm.
literally from our show to get help. And so
Yes.
it's just, I could go on hours, all the anecdotal stories of, people that this has had a huge effect, just a massive effect on. We had a friend of mine from junior high school. I hadn't seen him since 1977, because that's how old I am. And he lives near my son in Colorado. And I stopped by to see him. It was the middle of the day. His wife was at work. And we have these 5 questions that we go over in our show. And we're talking about what we're doing. He goes, "Do you have one of those 5 question cards?" I go, "Yeah." And so I gave him this card. And he didn't talk about his wife much or struggles. The next day, I get this long text message. He said, "My wife came home last night. And I said, I know you have some mental health struggles. I don't think I know enough about it. Can we go over these 5 questions?" And he said, 34 years of marriage, one of the absolutely most amazing, intimate conversations that my wife and I have ever had. He never came to our show, didn't go to our website, didn't listen to a podcast, like nothing, just from these 5 questions that we use in our show,
Mm.
had that much of an impact on his marriage. So,
Were there specific people that influenced you, encouraged you in your young age and maybe to your middle age until now, just really encouraged you? My goal isn't about numbers on this podcast, isn't about
yeah.
followers, isn't about likes. It's about if I can encourage one person per show, that is all that matters to me. What was that like for you growing up?
I really didn't have people ever encourage me to do entertainment. It was always the other way around.
Mhm.
With the exception of a couple of really close friends that said, do this. I was, from the time I was a little kid, people say, what do you want to be when you grow up? It's like, I want to entertain. I've done magic since I was 9 years old. I do world-class close-up magic. I do some comedy stage magic stuff, but I think my whole life I've had this deficiency of serotonin in my brain, and I've had to find ways to get those hits. So it was magic. Magic, there's practical jokes. When you're a kid, you're fooling your friends, and that gives you that dopamine hit. It was crank phone calls. We would spend hours. Caller ID ruined that for all these young kids. Right? Doorbell ditching. Well, ring cams ruin that for kids, right? But I think all of those things were me finding, and I always wanted to entertain, and everybody said, you can't do that for a living. Just do it as a hobby. I've had people, close mentors say, no, 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 don't do it for a living. You won't like doing it anymore. You'll hate it. It'll become your job and your chore. But I had a couple of, I think there's something for men when you're in your early 30s. Up until that point, you're building your kingdom. You'll work 3 jobs. You don't care what the job is. You're just trying to develop your home and your castle. But there's something about your early 30s where you really stop and think, do I want to do this the rest of my life? And for me, it was, do I want to wonder my whole life if I could have made a living doing something I absolutely love to do?
Yeah.
Or am I going to be an old man and just always look back and go, I wish I would have tried?
Yeah.
And so I sold a business when I was in my early 30s, and I owned a franchise. And to a friend of mine who supported me, who bought my business. And it was, we had a regressive payment scale where every year I got less money and less money as I was making more money doing entertainment. And I found this niche doing corporate gigs, and where fame didn't have anything to do with it. I had a VHS tape at first, and
Old school.
a DVD, and you had a product and you market it like anything else. And so that's been, probably 30 plus years ago that I started doing that. And then 8.5 years ago, I got locked up in a mental hospital. I was 54. I tell people I'm close to 60 now. I'm 63, but I think that's close. So I'm going to go with that. But I was 54, and I got locked up for being suicidal. And I honestly didn't think I was depressed. I thought of suicide all the time. I'd attempted a couple of times, but I didn't think I was depressed because I thought, no, that's those sad people, right? I'm not one of those sad people. I'm not depressed. I think of suicide all the time, but I'm not sad about it. And I get clinically diagnosed. And then a month later, I found a suicide note I wrote in the 6th grade.
Oh, wow.
And there was no date on the note, but I knew it was the 6th grade. The note said, I don't want to live. I want to die. Nobody cares. No one will miss me, And then my next entry in this little journal I found said, I think Michelle Matson is a fox. And I was like, Mr. Jensen's class, 6th grade. We sat on the front row, our elbows touched while we would write. Like, that's how I knew, when that was my carbon dating system. And so that was the same year they came out with this documentary about Robin Williams, Come Inside My Mind, this 2-hour-long documentary about his life that was done after he had died by suicide, right? And I kept waiting for them to talk about his depression, or at least talk about how he died. And nothing, not a word. They don't even mention the word depression. And it pissed me off a little bit. I thought he would have talked about it. Comics will talk about anything. I don't think if you would have approached him to talk about it, that he would have shied away from that as if he did a podcast and somebody asked, I think he would, I think my friend Steph Garcia, she said, that's our superpower. We'll talk about anything, right? There's not a topic, part, crevice, crack on the body that a comic hasn't done a bit about. So I thought, what if I want to do a show. I want to make what depression really feels like, and to have a raw, real conversation, unedited, with a group of comics. And what's funny is my friend Steph Garcia, she was a member at our kickboxing gym we had, and I knew she struggled with mental health stuff. She's a comedian, so we talked about a lot of mental health stuff. And so I called a local comedy club, Laughs Unlimited, and I called Jenny. I go, Jenny, I want to do a show about depression and suicidal thoughts, and I need some comics that struggle with depression. And she goes, you got to talk to Ellis and Carlos. And I was like, not those guys. Those are my friends. Those guys don't struggle with depression. Those guys are fun. They're funny. No, not them. She goes, no, both of them. And then they had the same reaction when I called them. They go, what, you? No, you struggle with depression. All of us we were all surprised to find out the other one struggled. And so for 6 months, we had dinners together, at least once a month. And we talked about comics, we talked about everything. And you get a group of comics who've known each other for 10, 15 years. Everything comes out. It gets so dark. My wife found out what dark and twisted is at those dinners. I mean, she was covering her mouth so much of the time, like, "Oh, you can't say that." And it just I think it gave us a safe place to really have a raw conversation, and then trying to take that and bring it onto a stage is what our goal was. So I interviewed doctors, psychiatrists, therapists. I have a friend of mine. He's an MD in South Dakota, which is always in the top 3 or 4 for suicidal rates. He writes a lot of scripts for depression meds. My nephew was a psychiatrist at a veterans hospital in Reno in the emergency department. So he dealt with it. And I asked him, what would you want to see talked about? If you had 4 people on stage with no boundaries, they'll talk about anything. And we're going to make this the subject is suicide and mental health and depression. What do you want to see? And so I think when you're doing your homework and you're actively engaged in something that's a righteous cause, that's for good use, I think God will drop stuff on you and give you things, That's how the 12 steps came about, right? And one night I sat down and was thinking about all this, how are we going to format this? I didn't want the show to be about me. I wanted it to be structured so that if I killed myself, that there would still be a show.
Mm-hmm.
And so one night I sat down and these 5 questions, I wrote these down in about less than 3 minutes. And these are the basis of our show. We've passed out probably pretty close to 100,000 copies of these 5 question cards. We have them on dog tags now. We have challenge coins with the 5 questions on them, and they become the structure of our show. We have clinics now that have told us, oh, these are our intake questions now for all new mental health patients, these 5 questions, because they cover everything. They're non-confrontational. They're such a brilliant, beautiful way to have a conversation with someone. And so the questions are, so the format is, it's always 4 comics. Everybody comes out, just 5 minutes of comedy. It's got to be clean comedy. Doesn't have to be mental health comedy. It doesn't have to have anything to do with mental health. I just want everyone to meet you. I want them to meet the happy clowns before you meet the sad clowns, right? And so everybody comes out, just 5 minutes of comedy.
One second, because I went to I actually booked a training for our command in January, and I heard about it. 1 degree of separation. It's got comics. It's about suicide. I'm like,
what?
Comedians and suicide talk. I'm scratching my head for a couple of weeks going,
yeah,
this is really an odd training.
Yeah.
Dude, when I went to that training, when I walked out of that, I was just immensely just shocked of exactly what you said. These guys their skits were not about suicide at all. We were laughing our butts off.
Yeah.
When you get there on stage with those 4 guys with a microphone, those 5 questions, oh my gosh, so powerful. I'm walking out the door going, I got to call this guy to get him on my podcast because that was so powerful. So sorry to cut you off, but yeah, I was and drawn into it.
It just and you've seen it. I mean, there's no better testament than somebody who's seen it. We get a lot of this at the beginning of our shows, right? It's like, how are you going to do this? Comedy, suicide? Are you going to make fun of suicide? I'm just waiting for you to do that and piss me off. I'm so ready to be offended. We get a lot of that. And then you just laugh for the first 30 minutes. Not mental health. I literally want to dope the audience with serotonin, dopamines, and endorphins. And you laugh for the first 20, 30 minutes. I've literally changed the brain chemistry of an entire group of people.
Mm.
You're more receptive. You're going to make better decisions, smarter decisions. The chemistry in your brain has altered. Kids with ADD don't have ADD while we're doing our show because we make them laugh first and they sit forward and they listen. And so that's the basis. Everybody does 5 minutes of comedy. And there's a reason. I remember we had a commanding officer. He came up to us afterwards. He goes, when you guys first started, he goes, I was a little pissed about it. They're just telling jokes. Like the first 20 minutes, you're just telling jokes. What does this have to do with, He goes, and then by the time it was done, he goes, oh, I get it. We needed to meet you. If we don't know who you are, we don't care what you have to say.
Mm-hmm.
And you use that to introduce everyone to it. He goes, I get it now. He goes, I was a little hesitant. He goes, but I get it. So we all do the 5 minutes of comedy. I come back out, well, just like a regular comedy show, I host it, then I come back out and I just tell my story real shortly and say, These 5 questions are suicide prevention tools. A matter of fact, the cards we have are printed on vinyl. They're not regular business cards. They don't rip, tear, bleed. So a troop can put them in a sleeve or in a pocket, leave it there, run it through the wash, and in a mental health emergency, you have 5 questions to help de-escalate, stabilize, and get professional help, like any other kind of first aid. And so we all do our 5 minutes. I come out, I explain the 5 questions just real briefly, and I say, now, like any good training, we're going to demonstrate to you what it looks like to answer the 5 questions. And then we come back out like you saw, 4 comics, 4 bar stools, 4 microphones. So the 5 questions are, what does your depression feel like? That's the first one. Not your feelings, your emotions, just literally, what is the physical part of what's going on? Where does it hurt? Which is the same thing you would ask if you ran across somebody injured on the side of the road. First thing you'd say is, where does it hurt? What's interesting is that all the therapy, all the training, all the things I've gone to, I've never had that question asked of me. And it's such a beautiful, easy way to start the conversation, because you're acknowledging to them, I know this is real. I know this hurts. I know this is physical. I know it's not just a mood that you're in. You're not dismiss. It's the opposite of being dismissive. Just saying, just physically, tell me where it hurt. Where does it hurt? We had one of our comics, Jay Whitaker, 20-year Air Force veteran. He's done probably 30, 40 of our shows, went to Guam, South Korea, Guam, Japan with us. And he called us a few months back sobbing. He calls us at midnight and he's just sobbing. We could barely make out what he's saying because he's sobbing. And he goes, my best friend called me to say goodbye tonight. I was her last call. She had everything there to take her life. She was calling me to say goodbye. He goes, and I panicked. He goes, I couldn't think of what to say to her. He goes, all I could think of was the 5 questions. He goes, so I asked her, just tell me what it feels like right now physically. What does it feel like? And it snapped her out of that emotional spiral, because to answer that question, you have to use a different part of your brain. You can't have all those emotions while you try and answer that. You have to go to part of your brain. And it literally snapped her out of that. And then he went through the questions with her and he's just sobbing and he goes, this shit works. But so it's that first one, physically, what does it feel like? Second one is, what do others do that makes it worse? People have good intentions. And I love that question because it's easy for people to vent. Well, when you do this, when you do that, when you say this, when you say that, when you dismiss it, when you tell me to pray it away, when you tell me to go get some sunshine, And the next question then is a gratitude question. Well, then what do others do that makes it better? When you're struggling with that depression, what do others do that is really helpful for you? We were doing suicide prevention training for Folsom Prison employees. And we went in and did our presentation. It's new. It's for new employee training. They do once a month. And the girl who was doing their PowerPoint for suicide attended. And then the next day, we all did a tour of Folsom Prison together. And she goes, my sister and I are really close. We're 14 months apart in age. We live together. And we both struggle with depression. And we were up till 1 o'clock in the morning going over these 5 questions, just sobbing. Because the things that helped me pissed her off. But we didn't know, the things she likes to have. Some people, it's like, just leave me alone, give me space. And other people like, don't abandon me. Or give me a little space, but not too much. Yeah, don't leave the room, but don't sit next to me. I mean, it's right. You don't know until you have the conversation. The next question is a self-inventory question. This is a recovery kind of question. It's, well, then what do you do that makes it worse? What do you recognize that, attributes to your own depression? And we talk about addiction. We talk about recovery. We talk about, not our lack of faith, all the things that we do that makes it worse, the shame, guilt, the self-talk, all of these things. There's nothing that's off the table. And then the last question, which is the one to end it with, which is the positive note. Well, what do you do that makes it better? And so it's like everybody has something they do that makes it better. Well, it might be I get on my video games and play with my, siblings across the country, or it might be, we talk about therapy and God and faith. And then at the end of it, what's interesting is people expect us to do Q&A after this kind of panel thing, but we don't do Q&A because we're not up there to give any advice. There's no use statements. We coach the comics on that. The comics sign a contract with us. We literally write the word. You won't use this word, nothing that even rhymes with this word. You have to. We lay it out that this is what they expect. This is the standard, and so the comics know what they can and cannot say. But it's we emphasize it's all me statements. At no point do we say, you should find Jesus. You should need to get on medication. It's like, no. Getting away from my church and stronger with my relationship with God was best for me. But that doesn't mean that's your thing, And so we don't give advice. We don't lecture. We don't do Q&A afterwards. We will stick around and answer any questions you want individually. We'll hear your stories. It's funny, the very first 2 shows we did Q&A. The first time it worked out okay. The second time was just a train wreck because there were people, they didn't really have questions. They wanted everyone to hear their story about their daughter that died by suicide 2 weeks ago. And it just sucks the life out of the room. And I thought, that's not the place for that. We want to live in on a positive note. And then to have that conversation one-on-one with those people is a better place and space to do that. So that's our show in a nutshell.
When did the concept begin taking root? You mentioned faith, and from the time you were kind of jotting down on pen and paper to your first show, how long was that, and what was that like?
6 months. That's when we had the dinners with the comics. I had my lockup in September of 17, and then it was 19 is when we did our first show, January 10th. And so from the time we started meeting, it was summertime. And so for 6 months up until January of 19, and it was having those dinners together and talking and sharing everything in our hearts and souls and, wondering what could we say? Are things getting so woke you can't even use the word suicide? Right? I mean, those were our concerns at the time. Are people so sensitive that, oh, how dare you? Even the name of our show is just a little disturbing on purpose. It's 1 degree of separation, a funny look at depression and suicide. And the semantics matter. We're not saying we're going to make fun of depression and suicide. And even the way it's written, if you look at it, it's written like a school teacher corrected your paper because you forgot a couple words. Right? It has a little red writing because it says, otherwise it just says 1 degree of separation, a look at depression and suicide. And it says funny and it's stuck up in there, and suicide, look at depression, and we added in there. And because I want people to have some kind of a warning that this is a dark subject and we're going to be laughing. We don't make fun of suicide, but we laugh, and we laugh at our own stupid stuff. We had a lady, we were doing a show in Utah, Cache Valley, Utah, Logan, Utah. And we don't do a lot of events where we have to sell tickets to make money. We try and get a sponsor or a group that has people already there. And so we don't have, but this one, we were selling tickets. So we were marketing on Facebook, and this lady responds, "There's nothing funny about this subject. How dare you?" And I said, "Free tickets for you and anyone you want to bring to this." I go, "You're being very judgmental. Have you been to our website? Have you looked at our promo video? Have you done any research at all other than your knee jerk?" And then I sent her a private message, the same thing. And we found out we had a mutual friend. And I said, "Call me." We're literally driving to Utah to go do the show. I said, "Call me." So she calls. She goes, "There's just nothing funny about this." And so I tell her this story, and it's a true story. I tell this at every show that we do, because I love this story. For one thing, it's completely true. It's not embellished. And it's a demonstration of how laughter changes your brain chemistry. And I start telling her the story. I go, my wife, about 7 years ago, got a text message from a 17-year-old girl. She said, "I'm standing on the bridge. I love you guys. Goodbye. You'll get along fine without me." And my wife's known her since she was 7. We lived in Rockland, California. We were 15 minutes away from the Forest Hill Bridge, which is the 3rd most frequented suicide bridge in the entire country. And so that was 15 minutes from us, Forest Hill. So my wife says, "You talk to her." I don't know to say to her, 80% of comedians struggle with depression. The other 20% probably aren't funny. You might have seen them on some of the roasts and stuff. And so, so I get her on the phone. Her voice is feeble. I go, "I know you don't want to die. You want this pain to stop." I go, "Where are you at right now?" She goes, "I parked my car. I'm standing on the middle of the bridge." And I said, "What bridge are you at?" She says, "Fair Oaks." I'm like, what avenue, Fair Oaks?" She goes, "Yeah." And I said, "That's a shitty bridge to jump off of. It's like 40 feet high. You might sprain your ankle if you don't land right." And I'm telling this lady the story, and the lady just starts laughing. And the girl on the phone, she goes, "Well, there's hypothermia," like she's trying to justify her decision. I go, no, this is California. It's not hypothermia cold. I go, "It's uncomfortable cold in the winter, but it's not hypothermia cold." And she keeps laughing. I go, "Why don't you come hang out with us? And we're doing karaoke tonight." She goes, "Okay, fine." I go, "What are you doing?" She goes, "I'm walking back to my car. I'll see you in 20 minutes. And I'm telling this lady the story, and she's laughing. And then I stop. I go, "You realize you're laughing at a suicide joke right now?" And she goes, Oh, I wasn't making fun of suicide, but that laughter, when I heard that girl laugh, I knew we were going to be okay because I knew it was going to change her brain chemistry. I go, so there is, I mean, technically, that is a joke about a suicide, but it's not distasteful and it's not, it's not triggering. It's just a real life story of how laughter, because that's how your friends are. Your best friends, when you're in your darkest moments, your best friends will make you laugh at your expense. And that's why we love doing military events, because you guys are as mean to each other, military, as we are as comedians to each other, right? It's like I had a dog. I tell this story in the show because it's just a perfect example of a really good friend. I had this once in a lifetime dog, Bandit. He was just the most incredible animal I've ever been around. And he did 200,000 miles on the road with me in 4 years. I was traveling. I was living in Utah, working in California, at least twice a month, coming back and forth. And everybody loved him. And he got into some poison. And I had to put him down. I held his face. I looked him in the eyes while he takes his last breath. And I cried for days and weeks. And so one of my very best friends, who we went through a lot of life together, I walked him through his divorce, through my divorce. He calls me up. He goes, and he's a comedian friend, so they're darker and funnier. And he says, so what happened with Bandit? I go, we think he got into some poison. And he says, you think he did it on purpose? He goes, I don't know. I've seen your show. Maybe he got tired of your show, learn some new jokes. Maybe he'd still be around. And I laughed so hard. And it's like only a really good friend could say something like that, because it just comes from this place of love. Like, dude, you got to laugh. Life's okay. You're gonna be all right. And when you can laugh at dark, tragic things, it gives you, they become less than, it gives you power over them. And we see that on stage all the time. The stories, we've had over 100 comedians do our show. We're coming up on close to 400 events that we've done, and over 100 comedians, and it's life-changing for the comics. They will confess and share things on that stage that they've never shared with their best friends. There's just something about this safety. I don't know. I think it might be because if you're going to share something dark you've never shared, well, I want to do it someplace where it matters, right? I think there might be some psychology behind that. We had one of our comics. He went to Guam with us, and the first show he did, what do others do that makes it worse? He says, my mom verbally abused me, my stepfather physically abused me, and I had a relative who sexually abused me when I was young. And then after the show, he says, I have never spoken those words in my life.
Wow.
I've never told a family member. The only two people who know are me and him. I go, but and you felt you're doing that in front of 200 strangers on an island in the middle of nowhere. He goes, yeah, there's just something about that stage. There's it's value. My story isn't going to get wasted. It's not going to get pushed aside. It's going to affect somebody, and somebody's going to come up and say, yeah, me too. I had that same experience. So.
How do you find all these comedians? You have a Rolodex. 30 years in comedy work. I'm sure you have a Rolodex of folks, but I'm sure other people hear about what you're doing and say, you know what? I have a story testimony. How do you vet comedians to be part of this amazing ministry? I'm going to call it ministry. It
is a ministry. Absolutely. Absolutely. It's not hard to find comedians that struggle with depression. It's hard to find ones that can do 5 minutes clean. So I used to get on the phone. If somebody's interested, I'd get on the phone with them and talk, but it's like an hour and a half. Because we go over the 5 questions. How would you answer these? What does your depression feel like? We go through all these things. And then they'll send me their video. And I'm like, oh, hell no, you're not funny. Or you can't work clean. We had a guy, he was perfect. He goes, hey, my buddy's a veteran, saw you in Connecticut. It wasn't a veteran event, but saw us in Connecticut. We did an event for NAMI. And he goes, my sister was a comedian, died by suicide a year and a half ago. He goes, I am a comedian. I've got my PhD in psychology. And it was like hour and a half long. And then he sent me his video, and it was like, oh, I saved it just to show to people of how horrible comedy can be. It was just so wretched. So now when I get inquiries, PBS NewsHour did a national news story. So we get comics from all over the country. Hey, I love what you're doing. Now all I do is say, send me 5 minutes clean, and then we'll talk. And that 85% of them I never hear it from again. And the ones that don't. What comics determine to be clean, and other people are not the same thing. So there's that issue. But I've even had, if I could just find one comic in a city, from there I can find other comics. So we try and keep all the comics regional when we travel. So we do a lot more work on the East Coast because there's more military there. So now we have a pretty good team of comics on the East Coast, the Great Lakes, Detroit, Columbus, Cincinnati, all of that. We have comics up there. We have Oklahoma. We've got a good set of comics. Texas, we have comics. Like 3 weeks ago, we had shows in Nashville, Little Rock, Arkansas, and San Antonio, Texas, all on the same day. So we had 3 teams of comics all working at the same time. Everybody except for one of our team leaders, we flew up to Little Rock from Florida. And that was the only, and my wife and I flew to Texas. Everybody else drove. All the other comics were within a half day's drive, 4 hours, 5 hours, 2 hours, hour, all within a short drive of those locations. So that keeps our costs down. We're, if you talk to people that do keynote addresses for a living, we charge probably a third or quarter of what they recommend we should be charging. But our goal isn't to make as much. Our goal is to get in front of as many people as we can. Like we went to bank, we don't charge extra for extra shows for that day. The cost is to get the comics there, get them flown in, put them up, Airbnb. Everybody has to take time off. They're not taking gigs to go do this. So we'll do 2, sometimes 3 shows in a day, and we don't charge for each additional show because that's our goal is to get in front of as many as we can. When we do schools, you may have to do 3 assemblies to get to all the kids. Well, then we want to do an evening event with the community. And so when we do school, sometimes we're doing 4 shows in a day, which is exhausting mentally. And so even our pricing, if you go over $10,000 for anything military, it bumps it into contracting and, you have to have other bids, you have to all this stuff. But if you could keep it under 10 grand, then they can run a credit card. So, all right, if our goal is to get in front of many people, instead of doing 1 keynote for 20 or 30,000, doing 1 of those a month, I'd rather do 3 military bases and get to that many more people. So that's kind of our.
We had 3 sessions when I went. I'm in Washington State, and we have multiple. We have Fort Lewis, we have the shipyard in Bangor, multiple military installations here on this side as well. It's so. A lot of guys just don't talk about stuff they're dealing with. The walls come up, and we're like, it's like going to church sometimes. How you doing? Good morning. How are you? I'm doing great.
Yeah.
Inside, we're a hamster wheel. We're just trying to figure out life in the situations we're going through. When it started and it took shape till now, 7, 8 years now or whatever.
Yeah.
You start with the same concept and still had the same kind of vision since day one?
We have not changed the format of the show 1 iota. Our requirements for the comics have changed, being that we have a contract now. Trying to get comics to work clean, it was at the beginning, especially because a lot of times we would go into a comedy club and do this, and they're like, "Oh, I'm in a club, I can say F this," and so we've literally just comics. I just tell them, I go, if you use foul language, I just will never use you again. I'm not going to burn bridges. I'm not going to, you're never going to hear from me again. And we have comics we had a comic beg us to do this. He said he's local Sacramento, begging. We have a dinner. We always have a dinner together because you have to have that camaraderie. Because you may know each other as comedians, but you don't know each other as fellow people struggling with depression, right? And so we have a dinner, and it helps build camaraderie. We talk about keep it clean, keep it clean. We tell them there's school admin people in the audience. These are principals and school counselors that are there to see if they want to bring us to their school. Before he walks on stage, keep it clean. Whatever you think clean is, clean that up a little. He's only got to do 5 minutes. He drops 3 F words in a 5-minute set with school principals sitting in the audience. And they're like, oh, yeah, we can't do that. It's like you cost us thousands of dollars because you couldn't go 5 minutes without saying the F word.
Yeah.
And so that's been so we have a tighter structure. They have a contract they have to sign before the show. All the comics do. So that's that's the only thing but the show format, everybody does 5 minutes of clean comedy. We come out, we answer the same 5 questions. We've never changed the questions. We've never changed the format. Last September is Suicide Prevention Month, so it's always super busy. Last September, we had 20 cities, 5 teams of comedians, 30 comedians to do that month. And so out of those 20 cities, my wife and I went to 7.
Wow.
And then we had teams everywhere. Matter of fact, we had 17 shows on the books for the month. And my mind was just, I'm not a detail guy. And luckily we have an office manager who is. And I called her, I go, I think I screwed up. She goes, what? I go, this is too much. We can't do this. And then we got an inquiry, hey, can you do 3 days of events up in Ohio? And I'm like, dang, I don't know. And I thought, well, hold on a second. I've got a team up there. And I called up Ronnie. She's one of our dearest, our favorite people on the planet. Ronnie, are you available on the 16th, 17th, and 18th of September? She goes, yeah, I've got it open. All right, send a message to your other comics, because she has a whole team up there that they work with, and they were available. I go, Sydney, you got all the contracts? She goes, yeah, I'll get all the contract stuff done. And it's like, okay, all right, yeah. So we did 20 cities in 1 month, and I want that to be our normal, you know, and it'll get there. So
Yeah.
it's just, but I'll tell you, when we about 3.5 years ago, when we started burning our ships, I just thought, all right, I don't care what my regular comedy does. I had this mental shift up. I mean, if you're going to do entertainment for a living, you want to be famous because you get more money. That's the only way you can make a living. And there was part of me, I just said, okay, I don't care. I don't care if anybody knows who I am. I want 1 degree to be famous.
Mm.
I want people to know what 1 degree is. I don't care if they know who Brad Bonar is. I don't care if they associate my name or know that I founded it or started it. I want 1 degree to be famous. And with that mind shift, that's when we closed our gym. That's when just all these doors opened up. 2 years ago, we did a conference in Portland, Oregon, for 2,500 of the top suicide prevention specialists and directors of programs for the entire Department of Defense and the VA.
Wow.
So every branch of the military had their leadership there. And same thing, we had some connections with the DoD that by sending out LinkedIn stuff, right? I actually made a connection. It worked. I got a connection. And they said, we want you to come to this. So we got a letter to submit what we did, and we got rejected because we're not clinicians. We're not clinical. We don't have any certifications. We don't have, and you can't explain what we do in a paragraph. You can't explain it on a flyer what we do. And so we got rejected, and we called them. They go, hey, we're not in charge. The VA's in charge this year, but we really want you there. Let's see what we can do. They came back. They said, okay, it's a 3-day conference. Wednesday and Thursday, we're going to have you go on at 5:30 at night in one of the breakout rooms. The conference is over at 5 every day. So we're literally going to have to beg people to stay. Hey, come after being in meetings all day long, wanting to go drink with their buddies. We're going to try and get them to stay and come see the comedy show about depression. And I said, we'll do it. We just know if we get in front of a couple of the right people in the military, it'll click. And so we had $8,000 to our name. It cost us this was not a paid gig. It cost us $4,000 to get there, to pay all the comics. We flew the comics out from Cincinnati and California, from all over the country. We had to put them up. We had to feed them. So half of what we had left in the bank. And a week before the conference, we got a phone call. They said one of our keynotes canceled on our opening day. Can you guys do the after lunch session?
Wow.
And we're like, absolutely. And we got a standing ovation. Just the whole room, high fives as we're walking out. We had a line of people for 3.5 hours after that at our booth. The next day for 9 hours, it never stopped. And they were just like, can you come to Germany? Can you come to Korea? Can you come to Guam? Can you come to, would you do this on aircraft carriers? We're like, yeah, tail hook us in, you know? And so that really opened up the military door for us. Whereas, the Marine Corps put in to make us, they submitted for funding to have us be their suicide prevention training. Our Navy, we're getting closer to the end of the contract. Now we're talking to them about renewing it for another 18 months, another 200 shows all around the world. The Navy sent us to Bahrain, Greece, Djibouti, Italy, Spain, South Korea, Guam, Japan. We were supposed to go to Diego Garcia and then Poland and Romania, but the war started. And so they canceled that. But I'll say
it's awesome. I've been there. It's an awesome little island. It's so cool. I've been there.
The coolest thing is my son works for Space Command. And he goes, Dad, there's a 4-star general who's you guys are going to overlap. And he goes, if you got a selfie with him, he goes, he knows me. He knows my name by face. He goes, if you got a selfie with him, my life would be complete. He goes, I'll have it on my desk. And coworkers going to be like, who's that with the general? Oh, that's my dad. They were hanging out in Diego. So that was my big disappointment, was not getting that picture for him. So we'll get back there.
I bet you have some incredible stories. When people do trainings, they reach out to you personally and say, you know what? I was wrong. I walked in this with this mentality, and I left crying because that
Yeah,
story hit me like a ton of bricks.
absolutely.
You get emails or phone calls from people?
Over almost every time we do our show, we could see them. We did we were in Key West, Florida for 110 DPH for the Air National Guard,
Mm,
directors of psychological health. So all of them are at least masters, if not PhDs. They're each one of them are over a wing that they are the directors of psychological health. And there was 110 of them. So they're from 110 different cities and they're all clinicians. And we did our show and we got a standing ovation. And then we said, look, we don't usually do Q&A, but this is a very different situation. You guys are clinicians. We're not going to give you advice, but you might have questions for us about how this has affected us and the effect of the show on others. And so we did Q&A with all of these directors and 110 of them. And this lady, she was the last one to get the microphone. And she goes, I sat in the back by the door so I could leave. Because for 35 years, this has been my livelihood. I've been coming to these for 35 years. And this today, by far, was the best suicide prevention training I've ever attended. And the whole room stands up. These are clinicians. These are the people who know. And then because of that, we've probably been on close to 60 bases in the last 2 years. But that blew up our Air National Guard. We've been all over for the Guard. We went to Albuquerque, Kirtland Air Force Base in September. And the base commanding officer sat through all 3 90-minute shows. He sat through all 3 of them. And then he came up to me, he goes, I could make this mandatory for everybody. I go, yeah, you can. You didn't, because you didn't know what it was, but you can. So they scheduled us in this last March, and about 3 weeks before we were supposed to go, they said, hey, we just lost funding, we got to cancel. And then 2 days later, she goes, hold up. The base commander found out I had to cancel and said, bullshit, we will find the funds. Because he sat through it, he knows what it is. He goes, no, well, we will find the funds and we'll make it happen. And so, yeah.
When people go to your training, is there something you want them to walk away from when they leave? Everyone's story is different, and this podcast is all about everyone has a story.
Yeah,
and I love sharing that. What's your primary goal for someone when they leave your training on how to the next step, either asking for help or reaching out for help to really help someone who's in that not sure what to do next stage?
So we have a very narrow bandwidth of what we're addressing. There's so many steps to dealing with depression. Talk about it, get help, which might be inpatient, outpatient, group therapy, medication, whatever it might be. None of those things happen if you don't get the first one. And that's all we address. That's why we don't do Q&A. We're not here to fix depression. We're not here to give you advice on depression. We're not to tell you take meds, don't take meds, do mushrooms, don't do mushrooms, we're none of that. Our bandwidth is to teach you how to talk about it. And so what we want when you leave is that you now have tools and you now have a comfort level to have a conversation that you didn't feel comfortable with having before. You now have a method and a system to have a conversation with someone to get them to professional help. With first aid, you're not fixing their injury. You're stabilizing them so they can get professional help. And the same thing with mental health first aid. We really look at this as a first aid step in mental health. This is a crisis management tool. Take these 5 questions, ask these 5 questions, and that'll bring them down and de-escalate it, and then get to professional help. So we always have, I'm sure, because I wasn't at the Bangor event. I think I sent a team up there, wasn't it? Yeah.
Yep.
But we always encourage with military, they'll have Fleet and Family will be there for the Navy. They'll have some counseling services. They'll have VA counseling services. When we do community events, the same thing. We have NAMI's been a partner in most of the stuff we do outside the military. We have NAMI there, the National Alliance on Mental Illness. We'll have AFSP, American Foundation of Suicide Prevention there. We'll have local counseling services. Like the event we're doing for the Catholic Church in October here in Sacramento. One of our board of directors, that's her job is to get outreach. And so we will have counseling services. We'll have faith-based counseling services because it's at a Catholic church. You know, the comics won't all be Catholic, but for that group, they'll probably all be at least believers in Christ for that group. But it's not we're not going to preach. It's not for just Christians to come to that event. And so we try and have as many resources. You know, the schools, they point out, these are the school counselors, these are your counselors. Raise your hand so we can see where you're at if you need to talk to somebody after this. But what I want them to leave with is these tools. Have a conversation. Go have a conversation with your wife, with your daughter. You know, it's funny. I had a guy ask me, I was on a podcast. He goes, explain the payoff difference between doing comedy and doing 1 Degree. Not the money difference, but what do you get out of it? Right. I go, here's the ultimate compliment as a comedian at a comedy show. And we've all had this. After a show, somebody comes up and they said, I lost my mom 2 weeks ago, or I just found out my kid had cancer a week ago, or, you know, whatever it is. And this is the first time I've laughed in a week. And thank you for that. And like, as a comic, we've all had that happen. But with 1 Degree, people come up and say, you changed my life. And I always kind of, really, your life? We were in Reno. We did a show for 100 Rotarians. It was a Rotary Regional Conference. And they had us do our presentation in the afternoon, like at 2:30 in the afternoon. And then that night they had a formal dinner. And so when we owned our kickboxing gym, I would wear kilts on Wednesdays. It's Warrior Wednesday. And so for this formal dinner banquet, I had a kilt. And this guy comes in, and he's from Scotland. He's the accent, and he's wearing his family tartan. And we're both wearing kilts. And he goes, you changed my life today. And I'm kind of like, really? And then he comes up, and this guy's in his mid-60s, and he's just sobbing. He goes, I called my daughter. I've never known how to talk to my daughter. I called my daughter today. And then he just grabs me, and he won't let go. And I'm like, I'm wearing a skirt. He's wearing a skirt. He's hugging me. I like it. I don't know what it says about me now, but... But we get those, that it really does. So what we want people to leave with is, I want you to feel comfortable to have a conversation now with your mom or sister or brother or roommate or your buddy or somebody that struggles with depression, because it's the 1 Degree. That's why it's called 1 Degree. If you don't struggle with depression, you know someone. We're all connected. We were in St. Augustine, Florida, and we went to they have this trolley, that historical tour thing, and we're paying for our tickets, and we talk about 1 Degree everywhere we go. And hold on, my mount here is loosening up, starting to fall. And so the lady, we're buying tickets, we tell her what we do. She goes, oh, that doesn't apply to me. I've never struggled with depression. I go, well, if you don't, you know somebody who does. And she just starts to tear up. She goes, my son, he's 41. This lady was in her 70s. And we tell her about what we do. And then we give her the dog tags. I always wear an extra dog tag. And I take it off, and I go, this is true. Here's 5 questions on this dog tag. These are 5 questions for you to have a conversation with your boy. And so it's for every group. We went to Wyoming. We did a tour in Wyoming. The first school we went to, 6th through 12th grade, their entire student body was 36 kids. That's how big the school was. Wow. And we told them, you are the first responders. You don't have a clinician at your school. You don't have a therapist. You've got school teachers, you've got principals, but they don't necessarily know how. These 5 questions are for them. And for you, you guys have to be each other's first responders, you know? So that's the after effect of it really does. It changes life. And we want them to walk away feeling comfortable of having that conversation that they didn't feel comfortable with before.
Does, when you do schools, is it trimmed a little bit, or the material the exact same, or do you use high schools or middle schools?
Schools, we usually only have 60 minutes. We like to have 90 minutes for our program for schools, because it's during a class period time. So we usually only have a 60-minute window, which by the time they get them in there and settle down, we have a 55 or 50-minute window. Okay. So it's really quick. We spend 1 or 2 minutes, fart joke, dad joke, just something stupid. I do some little magic thing. I do magic, so I'll do some comedy magic. We just want them to laugh a little bit, but it's weird because it's not a comedy club. They've never been to a comedy club. They don't know how to laugh as a group, right? They don't. And so we keep that part real short. But then when we get to the 5 questions, our answers don't really change that much. We try not to get quite as dark or, as descriptive about things, but we talk about addiction and recovery, and we talk about all those things that, that make it worse. So.
That's awesome. I mean, you do a lot of schools as well?
We started off doing mostly schools until we got this military contract. And now we're You know, I told you we have an anomaly. We have 3 months with no shows, June, July, August. We haven't had that since we started doing this 7.5, almost 8 years ago. And so, you know, we've got, so that's one of the things we're going to work on as a marketing program. I've got a friend in Utah. My kids went to high school there. So he's working on putting together a program there that we can duplicate in other cities. You know, who are the people, who are the places that'll sponsor it? Is it builders? Is it car dealerships? Can we get funds for them to sponsor this? Is there enough nonprofit money in the community, you know, to do something like this, through the chamber, or whatever it might be? So we're working on doing more and more schools, because you know, if you get to them younger, you know, the sooner you start addressing it. I was 54 when I first started addressing my depression. You know, my whole life I struggled, and I didn't start till I was 54.
I'm 55, and I want to do something I love to do, which is this. I love meeting people, hearing their story. I just put a thing on Facebook earlier. My goal was to have my own show, not to be famous or popular, but to share stories like this of encouragement or positivity of people going around the world, sharing their heart, their ministry is kind of my goal. I love to help any way I can, get the word out for you guys. I've seen it firsthand. I know what it's like to walk in like this and to leave in tears. So I attest to what you guys are doing.
Thank you.
I just love what you know, God put in your heart. Incredible ministry to connect with comedians, to laugh and to cry in the same setting. You know? And so I'm humbled to have you on today. Can you share about your website, how people can connect with you, maybe book some sessions, and just kind of get a conversation with you and get maybe to other areas?
Easy to get a hold of. Our website, it's the number one. It's 1degreeofseparation.life is our website. If you forget all of that, if you just do a Google search for comedy and suicide prevention, boom, there's not a lot of people in that space. So I do tell me, I go, just do comedy, suicide prevention. You're going to see 1 degree. There it is. So it pops up pretty quick and easy. All the emails that go in through there come straight to my phone. So you can get a hold of us. You know, and we just, it's been, you know, it is, we don't feel like it's our program. We feel like we're stewards. This is God's thing. We're holding on. And he's, you know, my wife, after my lockup, I was super angry and pissed off. And my wife, she goes, God's going to take this and turn it into something good. And I said, how's he going to take me spending most of my life wanting to die? Most of my life, I've wanted to kill myself. How's God going to turn that into something positive? And I think God was kind of like, hold my beer, watch this. Here you go. And it's just turned into
Listen to the life. Listen to the life.
I know. The thing is, if something happened to my wife and I, you know, God forbid, 1 degree doesn't die. We have a board of directors. We have so many comics and people that this is my legacy. This is what I leave. I don't, like I said, I don't care if people know who I am, but I want them to know what 1 degree is.
I would love to invite your comedians on the podcast anytime to share their story, to continue spreading about what you guys are doing. I would love to connect with other guys and stories.
Okay, yeah. I'll shoot you a couple names. Kevin Davis is one that you should have on. Kevin Davis has become one of my dearest friends in my life. And the way we met is absolutely hilarious. And it just shows how if you don't talk about what you do, you don't find the connection. It's the 1 degree. And he's been around the world with us 3 times. He is 66 years old, 20-year Marine Corps veteran, Master Sergeant. And he says, this is the happiest I've ever been in my life. Because all those things that I've buried that I didn't think were issues, you know, he goes, once I talked about them, they were free, and I didn't carry those burdens anymore, you know? And so I was in Vegas about 4 years ago working at a Delirious comedy club, and the late night Saturday show was Pauly Shore. And I wasn't a big Pauly Shore fan, you know, it's kind of not my generation to, you know, and so I told the club owner, I go, hey, Don, we're going to stick around for the Pauly Shore tonight. Show. And he goes, really? I go, is it that bad? He goes, hey, buddy, that's pretty much his show. I go, really? He goes, yeah. I go, well, he goes, yeah, you can go. It's free because I'm working at the club. It was so horrible. After 15 minutes, my wife and I walked out. And I'm a comedian. I have a pretty high tolerance for horrible comedy, you know, going to open mics. And 15 minutes, we walked out. It was just so abusive. And he was just, and so there's a dude out there, this African-American guy, he's got a fedora in his hand. He goes, I didn't hear a joke. I didn't hear a premise of a joke. I didn't hear anything funny. He goes, and I'm a comedian. Did you guys walk out too? I go, yeah. I go, I'm a comedian too. We have this program called 1 Degree. And we started talking to him. And a year later, we had a show in Riverside, California, near where he lives, for 300 foster and homeless kids. And during the show, he says, I never met my father. At that point, he had never even seen a picture of his father in his life.
Wow.
And after the show, this young kid comes up and he goes, is that true? He goes, absolutely true. He goes, yeah, me either. And he just has this moment to speak truth to this kid. That doesn't define who you are, what you can be, where you can go. Don't ever let that limit you as a person, as a human being. You can do anything you want. And afterwards, he goes, I don't care where these are. And he goes, I don't care what they pay. I'll go anywhere to do these shows. And so we pay him a little less than the other comics, but he appreciates it more. So that's what matters, you know? But and we met because Pauly Shore sucks. Every time we see each other, we go, thank God Pauly Shore sucks. And we fist bump.
That's awesome.
He would be an amazing guy to have on your show. His story with 1 Degree is just incredible. So I'll shoot you some names and some phone numbers for some people.
That'd be awesome. Thanks so much for your time today. Really appreciate it. My eyes watered the entire time laughing, and your heart is so big. And I'm thankful God has used you in an incredible way of ministering people around the world and comedy and sharing people's hearts. Thank you so much, man. Appreciate it.
You betcha. Thank you.
Take care of yourself.
Our second spotlight artist of today's show is by MEGHANNE Story and Raymond Hayden. They are from the Pacific Northwest. We call it the PNW. And I'm playing their song, To Be Human. To be human is a question meant to be thoughtfully considered in a world where many of us face challenges such as homelessness, employment, addiction, illnesses, violence. The list goes on, right? It raises a difficult, necessary question. Why has it become so hard to afford housing, provide for our families, and ultimately ask us why we have made it so hard, so difficult, simply to be human? So this is To Be Human, a MEGHANNE Story and Raymond Hayden.
Why can't you see what's happening here? So many people live in so much fear. And we all have this earth beneath our feet. Same small world, same heartbeat. We can't leave. There is nowhere. We all have this one home within air. And history has taught us nothing when we fight for the right to be human, just to be human, to be human. Why do we fight just to be human? Can you see what's happening here? We build walls, then we live in fear. Lines drawn deep in the sand, as if the earth was only in your hands. We all breathe the same air. History has taught us nothing when we fight for the right to be human, just to be human, to be human. Why do we fight just to be human? just to be human. Can't you see what's happening here? So many people live in so much fear. We all have this earth beneath our feet. Same small world, same heartbeat. 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 Same small world, same heartbeat.
Remember when we didn't need an algorithm to tell us what to listen to? We would just put on an album, listen to the whole thing front to back, no skipping. And somehow we survived not having music crammed down our throats by corporate algorithms. And we listened to songs that didn't suck. We found deep tracks, weird tracks, the ones that radio never played, and we learned every single word. Now, it's just the same 12 songs on repeat forever. So I'm building something different. XWPM Radio, a station for people who remember what music actually felt like. Deep cuts, B-sides, the stuff you forgot you loved. I'm getting ready to launch this on Kickstarter. So if you're tired of being force-fed the same playlist, go to xwpmradio.com/founding and join the team. Welcome to XWPM Radio, Beyond Radio.
Our mental minute of the show is you don't have to carry it alone. Life has a way of piling up, doesn't it? Work demands, family responsibilities, finances, health struggles, church commitments, it all stacks up higher and higher and higher until it feels like we're running on empty. And so often our first instinct is to push harder, to do more, to carry it all on our shoulders. But here's the truth. God never asked us to carry any of this alone. With the burdens getting heavier and heavier, Jesus' words in Matthew 11 remind us that our rest is found in Him. He invites us to come to Him, not when we have it all together, not when we're strong, not when we're weary and worn out. God is the one who refreshes our souls. Yet so many times we throw on the mask of life, the I'm okay, I'm fine, I can handle it on my own. But Scripture tells us something different. God's grace is sufficient, and His power shines brightest in our weakness. We don't have to pretend, we don't have to push past our limits, we don't have to be superheroes. I'll be honest with you. I said yes a lot of times in my life. Maybe too much sometimes. But sometimes the most spiritual thing we can do is say no. To slow down, to breathe, to fall at the feet of Jesus. The verse in Isaiah 40:31. Those who hope in the Lord will find renewed strength. They will soar on wings like eagles. Do not crawl, not barely make it by, but soar. So today's Mental Minute is a reminder you don't have to carry it all, everything. You don't have to pretend you're fine. You don't have to push past your breaking point. Rest is found in Him. Strength is renewed in Him. Hope rises in Him. That's today's Mental Minute. Food is one of life's best encouragers. Well, at Tequila and Tequila Street, located in Silverdale, Washington, they take it to a whole new level. Locally owned, locally loved, and serving authentic Mexican flavors they hit the spot every single time. Now, if you're a breakfast person like I am, Tequila Street has got you covered with the greatest tasting breakfast burritos around you need both hands to dive into, as well as some great lunch selections as well. And Tequila, and located in the Kitsap Mall, has 6 different kinds of tacos for you indecisive people like myself. A little bit of everything. Fresh, flavorful, and made with heart. Support local. Eat well. Check out Tequila. Their phone number is 360-317-0146, or Tequila Street. Their number is 360-914-9152. Check out their Facebook page as well for great menu items. That's Tequila and Tequila Street, located in Silverdale. Our third song of the show is by CEE CEE James. Her voice is pure emotion and grit and soul. If you ever heard of her before, get ready, because she is the real deal. CeE is known for a raw, powerful voice and the kind of blues storytelling that reaches straight into the heart. She's often called a blues rock powerhouse, and for good measure, because her music is honest, intense, and deeply human. The kind of sound that comes from living life, learning from it, and pouring out every bit of truth into her microphone. CeE doesn't just sing the blues, she embodies the blues. The song I'm sharing today is Blood Red Blues. It's a perfect example of her fire and authenticity. It's gritty emotional. It's full of that deep down soul that makes the blues so timeless. You can feel every note, every breath, every ounce of passion she puts into that song. This track is a journey, and CeE takes you right along with her. This is your first time hearing CeE James? You're in for a treat. She's bold, powerful, and she brings the truth to her music that's rare and refreshing. Ladies and gentlemen, this is CeE James, Blood Red Blues.
Blood Red Blues came on when my heart got broke. Put my mind into the right place. Blood Red Blues. Blood red blues flowing heavy all through my veins. Done drown my selfish soul in and out. Blood red blues. I ain't got no time, you see. I ain't got no time to play no game. I ain't got no stomach for none of my lies. Now that my heart is running my mind. Blood red blues. Hottest flame that you ever seen. Burned all that I heard right into my bones. Now blood red blues. Blood red blues. You gonna know it when you get on. They turn your inside out now. Wow, yes they do. Oh, blood red blues. Now I'm
fourth and final song I'm sharing on the Spotlight Artist is by Chelsea Ray. I'm excited to share a little spotlight about her on the show here. She's a rising talent with a voice that blends honesty, emotion, and a spark of attitude. And it makes her music instantly relatable. Chelsea has a gift for taking real life moments, the messy ones, the meaningful ones, and the ones we don't always talk about, and turning into songs that hit home. She writes with truth, she sings with passion, and she brings a fresh, modern edge to every track she releases. The song I'm sharing today is Break Up to Make Up. It's a perfect example of her style. It's a catchy, emotional, and full of back and forth energy. We've all felt some at some point in our lives. Chelsea delivers it with confidence and vulnerability, and making a song that you can feel as much to sing along with. So go ahead, crank it up. Chelsea Ray, with the artist knowing. Here is Break Up to Make Up on Chit Chat.
Sweet talking, at my door knocking, singing my favorite songs. When you're leaving, I can already see it. Right here's where you belong. Leave the light on up till dawn, waiting for you at my door. Gone for days, set in your ways, keep coming back for more. Break up to make up, then repeat again. We're just texting and fighting to say we're only friends. Say you're gonna change, and I know it's just a lie. We know it's a matter of time before we break up to make up. Yeah, break up to make up. Here you are, saying that you're sorry, but then you went and did it again. And every time you tell me not to worry, my patience runs too thin. Just when I think I might have found somebody new, then you call me, saying that you love me, bring me back to you. Break up to make up, then repeat again. We're just texting and fighting to say we're only friends. Say you're gonna change, and I know it's just a lie. We know it's a matter of time before we break up to make up. Yeah, break up to make up. Screaming and shouting, always leaving me doubting that I'm ever on your mind, and it's just a waste of time. You turned off the cable and left your keys on the table. Still I left the door unlocked, but I never hear you knock. Break up to make up, then repeat again. We're just texting and fighting to say we're only friends. Say you're gonna change, and I know it's just a lie. We know it's a matter of time. We know it's a matter of time before we break up to make up. Break up to make up.
If today's story touched you or encouraged you or kind of helped you in a journey you're facing, I'm glad. I'm here for you, and I hope these words, these stories, this music helps encourage you and inspires you, and I want to remind you that you matter. Your story matters, and you're never walking alone. We all have someone within 1 degree of separation in our lives, and we have someone who's struggling or going through some hard time situation. Reach out and check on them. Be sure you're doing well. Great time talking today with Brad Bonar, hearing about his amazing ministry. It's impacting thousands of men and women around the world, including our men and women in our DoD, our military, and schools. And just an honor hearing the many people that's been impacted, the comedians who are sharing their stories and lives. I'm a big fan of some clean comedy, and so it's really really powerful talking with him today and hearing his story. Thank you to our musicians, Michael Coleman, MEGHANNE Story, and Raymond Hayden, featuring a song with us, CEE CEE James and Chelsea Ray. I am just grateful for the many musicians who have reached out to me, getting permission to play their songs on my podcast. Full songs, not just 20 seconds of a song, but full songs, just trying to help them get their music heard around the world. So please check out their websites, their Facebook pages, and yeah, it's really fun when you're encouraging independent artists to get the music out there. Also, thank you to my sponsors, Tequiza and Tequiza Street, a Mexican food truck and restaurant here in Silverdale. A great, authentic Mexican food with 6 kinds of tacos. If you're indecisive, like myself, I can never decide which one I want, so I get one of each. The kids have Great Escape. Awesome place for family and friends to come hang out, and especially if that person thinks he knows it all. You know, we know those people, right? They have 4 fun rooms at the Kids at Great Escape. Wine and Bite in Port Orchard, a place to wind down when you get a crazy week going on. They have trivia, they have paint and sip, they have all kinds of cool fun events. And Lone Star Donuts, they have places in Silverdale and Port Orchard, Washington. The thing about them, they have nearly 50 flavors, so it's really hard to go get a few donuts for the family and so many choices to choose from. But they're not the rinky-dinky ones on the shelf. No, these are made fresh daily. Swing by, check them out, and use them for your family, friends, coworkers, neighbors. And my name is Jody, and I love hosting this podcast, encouraging people, just sharing some positivity, trying to make your day a little bit better. And I hope I've done that today in this show. Please go back and check out other shows. I've done this almost 4 years. I took a year off in 2025, but we're doing video now, and so I get to see the faces of people who I interview. It's really awesome, and I have great support from businesses. If you're a business who wants to get your business shouted out, reach out to me. Love to have you on. If you have a story you want to share, reach out to me. And of course, musicians are welcome as well. And yeah, Chit Chat, the encouraging one, another podcast what's always about encouraging others. We'll see you next time. Take care of yourself.